Hey guys, welcome to the K-Pop Bible. This is Lee.
And I'm Cece.
And right now we're going to be talking about new releases. And the first video up for review is Refund Sisters, Don't Touch Me. I definitely thought Lee Hyrie, like in the intro, when they're all popping up and giving very 21 at the Mama Awards realness, she looked like CL with the blonde bangs and the whole look. But besides that, I thought it was actually a really cute performance. I actually thought the song was really cute. Seeing it live, Jessie looked beautiful, showing off her beautiful breast. Her voice sounds really nice. Hwasa did nice. She carried the group vocally in some parts. The older woman, who's like the Madonna of Korea, she sounded really together. Overall, I give this a solid B+.
So I was actually pleasantly surprised when I listened to the song because I had watched a reality TV show where they were sort of gearing up and preparing for this comeback. So when I saw this performance, I was like, wow, they actually did a good job. I didn't expect the older members to be on the same level as Hwasa because, Hwasa is an active member and she's also having a comeback with her group this month. So, she has practice of performing on stage constantly while the other girls, this is like their comeback in a couple of years, actually, for some of them at least. I liked how they incorporated different elements from each of the artists. Like, for example, even in the choreography, they included Jessie's part from Nuna Nana. And just to talk about the impact this group had when they came out with their songs, Don't Touch Me by the Refund Sisters becomes the first girl group song in history to reach 100 hourly perfect all kill, meaning they debuted at number 1 across all the charts in Korea. So I just think that this shows the market and the industry that, you're never too old to be in a girl group, or you're never too old to still be relevant and produce music that other listeners want to listen to. Because like I said, one of my biggest criticisms about K-pop is I hate the idol life cycle, especially for women in the industry, where it's like once you've hit a certain age, you're no longer marketable for the industry. And I think that this song and this comeback and this group was able to show, yeah, you can still have a career in the industry 20, 30, 40 years in the game.
We're not a team. This is a competition.
A lot of Blinks were upset because Refund Sisters actually stopped Blackpink from debuting number 1 on the charts with Lovesick Girls. So there was a little bit of controversy around that, especially on Twitter. A lot of Blinks were calling these women hags and saying that they should not even be doing music, that they're too old.
Oh, so now Blinks are acting like the army?
A lot of them were actually sending hate towards their Instagram, and Jessie actually reacted to it, and she was like, hey guys, don't judge us. We didn't have a lot of time to rehearse as a group, and they were just saying a lot of negative stuff on their Instagram posts. The stage was actually really good, compared to what could have happened or compared to other groups that performed. I think that they actually did pretty good. What do you think, Lee?
Yeah, no, I'm not mad at the stage. I think what we're forgetting is these are all experienced performers in different capacities. And yes, Lovesick Girl did not get an all kill. But then again, Lovesick Girls did win a lot of trophies. So both of these groups found success. So Blinks, I'm going to need you to not get on the army way of doing things and just be supportive. Because Blinks, if you want, we can talk about Jisoo and this choreography. So now we're moving on to my favorite segment, talking about boys. And we're going to be talking and reviewing 17's Home Run.
So it's good to see 17 have a high budget for a music video for once. But I do have a little bit of criticism in terms of their music video. I felt like besides the budget, I thought the styling of the music video was off. It definitely was not 17. And maybe it's because we're used to seeing them in such horrible styling that it's like when you see them for once in semi-decent attire, you're kind of thrown away from it. But
don't you miss the days when 17 was original? 'Cause I do. Because, you know, I've been with 17 since their little reality show, and they had to do Bang the remix in that auditorium and have Ailey, when she was at the height of her relevance, critiquing them. Where to begin? Okay, I thought the vocals were good, the production, they kept their musical theater roots. But the video was giving me very much like Boy in Love by BTS if it had a baby with Super Junior's Black Suits. Like, I kind of feel like ever since Pledis got taken over by Big Hit, I see them sort of, I don't know if they're forced or they're choosing. I see them very much adopting a BTS type of aesthetic to their music. And for me, when I was looking at it, I didn't see 17 anymore. I just saw another group. Even the whole like heist theme of them wanting to get this done, it was so, like I said, Super Junior's Black Suits. Like, I just feel like I would like them, if they're going to be influenced by other artists, I would like them to be inspired and not just flat out wearing the influences. Because I was looking at it and I was like, wow, this is like a Super Junior video. Super Junior meets BTS. Same thing, same devil. And in terms of the music, like, I remember with them, they had such a great rap line in the beginning. Like, does Mingyu even rap anymore? And, you know, I feel like the only people who rap now is Vernon and S-Coops. And I would like for their rap line to actually, I would just want them to, like, have their rap line kill it like they used to kill it. Like, they don't do that anymore. Like, I think they're now sort of getting into this whole, like, oh, we're going to do theatrical musical theater. And it's like, no, like, where are the bars? Spit some verses at me.
So now we're going to move back to girl groups, and we're going to review Mamamoo's newest single called Dinga.
First of all, claps for the COVID awareness with the mask. Like, here for it. But overall, it was definitely like, is like the 70s like the new aesthetic in K-pop now, where everyone is just like being very like iridescent, and instead of like where they're just like, oh, we're gonna channel like an era now. Because I'm not picky, but you know, I feel like that's a trend alert.
I think that's just reflective of the trends in American music, because, you know, there is sort of a 70s wave here in America as well, with Dua Lipa, The Weeknd, Doja Cat. You know, a lot of artists, even Miley Cyrus, they're doing homages to the 70s. So I think K-pop is sort of a reflection of the West, and now they're bringing that sort of element towards their music. So I think that's the reason why Mamamoo had a very 70s-esque comeback.
I love how they're like now taking like the Spice Girls approach to things, where each member is like embodying like a different, because like Solar is like the sexy one now, Huas is like the urban, maybe fashionable one, Moonbyul is like the femme tomboy, and Wheeling is like sort of like the cute, sort of like wholesome one. If like I could think of like the Spice Girls for K-pop, that would be like Mamamoo right now.
So now we're going to react to Luna's Why Not?
Okay, so can we just say I love So What Part 2. I actually really did like the video. It gave me very much like American Horror Stories, Coven. And I thought the song had like a very 80s house type of appeal with the dun-dee-dun part. It was really infectious. That's like the sound like Blackpink tries to sort of get, this sort of like being like really girl crushy but still like really cute at the same time. It was a pop song, but it definitely had like a lot of influences and textures that made it just not a run-of-the-mill like K-pop song. And so I definitely think like if this is the sound and the concept they're sticking with, brilliant. A+. Next up for review is a group that we all know, Pentagon. They're back with their newest song, Daisies. And so I'm excited to see what the boys bring to us. Kojima, mother... Wait, can I swear on this? I can't remember. Fucking ma. I loved it. It gave me... I'm sexy, but I'm like depressed sexy. Shout out to Yudo with his beautiful six-pack. Not Yuda, but Yudo. I enjoyed the video. It gave me very much VIX meets EXO meets a little bit of BTS mixed with a little bit of Big Bang. And that's not shade. There's only so many concepts in K-pop where, of course, we can always pick out a reference from somebody. This is sort of what I'm talking about when you are inspired by your influences and not wearing your influences. Like, even though we could pick out like each group, but like the video was still very them, and it was still very unique to what they do, and it was still very on brand, but it showed a much softer side to them. You know, I was worried because one of their main vocalists is in the military currently, and so I was worried about how the song would be like vocally, and it still was an amazing song. So kudos to you, Pentagon, and congratulations, because I believe Pentagon won their first music show with this song. Thank you for being sexy.
So the last song we're going to react to is Black Swans Tonight. So the two new members that we definitely don't recognize are Fatu and Judy. Fatu is from Senegal, and she is one of the new girls. When I saw this music video, I was like, okay, I'm seeing sort of the elements that Alex was sort of complaining when she was in Rania. Like, for example, some of the outfits aren't really necessarily tailored to Fatu's skin tone in terms of when they were wearing those nude corsets. Like, Fatu's corset was in a lighter shade. It wasn't the exact nude shade of her skin tone. So
who does her wigs? Because they're doing her dirty. Yeah, like her styling, I think the styling doesn't suit her.
I like the song. It was really catchy. It was very Rania-esque, but I definitely did not like Fatu's rap verse. It was offbeat, but not in a good way. Because, you know, for example, Big Sean, he's a rapper and he usually raps offbeat, but he makes it work, right? But in terms of Fatu's verse in this song, it was just too delayed, and the lyrics were just corny. Like the part where she says "chill, bro" or something like that. I was like, why is she even saying that in a song? It just made me cringe. Like, she's listening to it.
She said, "You're killing me, bro."
When she says "you're killing me, bro," like that was just too cringy for me to be in a K-pop song. Like, yeah, K-pop is notorious for having cringy English lyrics, but like not this. This is a whole nother level.
The song's cute. You know, it's not memorable, but if it came up on like a Spotify playlist, I wouldn't skip it, but it's not something that I would personally like download and buy. And also, I don't understand this whole Goodbye Rania thing. I think it's like, yes, I'm all for closing the door, but the whole Goodbye Rania, you're still pretty much pushing the Rania brand by saying that. And so, you know, if I had to give it a grade, it would be like C+. You know, we saw a performance actually of Black Swan, not to be confused with the Oscar-winning movie starring Natalie Portman, the actress. I don't understand why idols don't like to fool us anymore that they're not singing live. Literally the first 10 seconds, 15, we're gonna say 15 to be shadier. They didn't even know the beginning formation of their choreography. The member didn't even sing. The song and the lyrics were coming, but no one was moving their mouth. And I love how when they do high notes, demonstrate, they just open it up. It's not even a lip quiver, not even a jaw. It's just an open mouth. And it's crazy because 3 of the members are old Rania members. Correct me if I'm wrong. 3 of the members are old Rania members. So I'm surprised that if you girls have been performing in previous incarnations of Rania, how do you not know your choreography? How do you not know your lyrics? Also, no shade, Fatu, girl. You're not about to lie to me and tell me that you have the gift of mimic and you just mimicked Alex's raps and demonstrate perfectly to the fact that you sound eerily like her. It's I don't know about you, but if you don't have a company, do you have your own studio? Right? So wouldn't it make sense to re-record the song? So this segment is called Look Back. We'll be looking back at scandals from the past. And since we reviewed Black Swans tonight, in lieu of their album being called Goodbye Rania, I felt like we should talk about the Rania scandal with Alex Reid. So dim the lights and get your snacks out. So Rania debuted in, I believe, the 2000s, and they got really popular with the song Dr. Feelgood. And when you think about like Dr. Feelgood, like Dr. Feelgood was definitely like the Pussycat Dolls version of Korea. Like I listened to the English version and it's literally like the lyrics were like so sexually in your face, like I need a fix, give me a drug, whatever you did, come do it again. Come and strap me to your chair, girl. Like I was like, what type of doctor is this? The song was so controversial. Like a lot of medical professionals like band together and were like, oh, let's get the song taken down because it gives doctors a bad name. But like, no, like the song is actually like a pretty good song. And that song definitely like was a trend for like female idols definitely owning their sexuality. The closest thing to a female idol owning their sexuality pre this was like the coming of age ceremony song. And it's about like this girl who's like 18 wanting to sleep with this older guy. And she's like, I'm a woman now. And so like this song, Dr. Feelgood Dead, was definitely like something that was like about women owning their sexuality and being like, yeah. They gained a lot of notoriety and a lot of relevance again when they introduced Alex Reid. And Alex Reid is an American singer, songwriter, rapper, actor, former video model. She was in a Chris Brown video. And she was first introduced on the song Demonstrate.
The producers were working on this song, Demonstrate, for Rania, and Alex just so happened to be on the same studio there working on something as the people working on Demonstrate. So when she heard the track, she thought it was really good. So she just got on and she did a freestyle rap. And the producers of the song liked it so much that they asked if she could be featured in the song. So that was how Alex came to be involved with Rania. But then because of her popularity and because of how great it was sort of received by both the international market and K-pop fans, they wanted to keep her as a permanent member of the group.
She wasn't in the video, so everyone just passed it off of, oh, she's like a feature artist. But no, she was actually like soon after introduced to the lineup as K-pop's first ever African-American artist. After Alex was added to the group, 3 members left, and so they added a few more members, and they renamed Rania from Rania to BP Rania, which is Black Pearl Rania, and to sort of showcase the fact is that they do have a black artist in the group. And like, minus I Make You Feel Alex kind of was for majority of her time in Rania. She felt like a feature artist. Like she never really had the same outfits as the girls. She was never in the choreography. Yeah, she was in the beginning, and then she would come back to do her verse, which her verse was usually like in towards the end of the song, and then she would join and do the choreography then. Alex was never really generally a part of the group. Like she really felt like she was a solo artist that just was there. But suddenly Alex was returned back to America, and we all assume like, oh, what's going on? Is she on hiatus? And then, you know, Rania went silent for a good couple years. It could go 2 years. And then she had came out and said that she was mistreated in the group. She wasn't really being handled properly. A lot of styling issues, a lot of neglect. And it's kind of hard because according to her, allegedly, she left the group, but then according to the company, she left the group of her own volition, her own will. But then Alex said that she was fired and she was returned back to the US, and you know, she's made appearance on like Korean YouTubers and she's done a few stuff. But all in all, like K-pop hasn't really seen Alex since.
They definitely didn't treat her fairly, and they were constantly reminding her that she was an outsider in the sense of the members, they had their own stylists and they had their own makeup artists and their own hairstylists, but Alex had to do everything on her own. Like she couldn't even match with the concept of the other girls because they weren't dressing her. So she was saying that the reason that they couldn't style her is because they couldn't find the correct sizing for her. But again, it's like, if you're a company, you should have the money to be able to make custom outfits for your groups. I think that DR Music definitely dropped the ball there because they had a good opportunity with Alex to do something that at the time was ahead of its time. Because now if we look at K-pop, it's making more of a buzz in the international scene and in the West. But at the time, like, they definitely could have used that to have made Rania become a well-established, like, popular girl group. And I think that this scandal, along with other scandals with other members leaving the group and just, you know, them not having the funds to even produce a full album for themselves, like they had to ask fans to donate to produce an album for Rania. And then there was another shady things happening with that because apparently they had to take down the campaign for that because, you know, there was just a lot of shady things happening behind the scenes. And so, to me, when I saw this announcement that Rania was now re-debuting as Black Swan, you know, I just gave it the side eye. Because I knew that they're gonna use Fatu the same way they used Alex as an accessory and as the token Black girl in the group. And I feel like that's really unfortunate because, again, they're in a position where they can actually set an example for how girl groups should be. Like, I do believe that in K-pop we should start allowing more international members be in the group. Like we see it with, you know, Twice. They have members who are not Korean, who are Japanese, and we see that in other girl groups as well. But I'm saying, like, it's just unfortunate to see how they're gonna eventually, like, throw away this girl. Like, I already know what's gonna happen to her. Like, there's gonna be something where the company is not gonna be able to provide, and then they're just gonna go inactive, and then you're gonna hear the news that the member left, and it's like, why repeat the same story over again instead of, like, actually, like, owning up to what you did?
Here's the thing. I'm okay with K-pop just being a genre where Asians Americans go and perform, because there isn't a lot of opportunities for Asian artists and performers to break into America and to have a stable career in America. And so that's why they go to Korea to do that. And so for me, I feel like if you're not going to give a foreign member the same treatment as another member, as your Korean counterparts, and they're just an accessory to be like, we're diverse, you know, I kind of feel like just not have them in the group. And speaking of Alex, she tweeted, "I'm excited for more representation in K-pop and hope it continues across more companies. I also think we all need to give maximum support to Fatu because I can tell you it can be unbelievably difficult and alienating behind the scenes." So, you know, we just need to pray for Fatu. We just need to bring her all the crystals and all of that, because I do think it is going to be really hard. The one thing I can say about the Korean netizen culture, there are going to be unbelievably harsh to Fatu because she is a Black woman in K-pop. And even, like, no tea, no shade, like, even, like, other Asians cultures in K-pop, like China, Japan, they don't get the same treatment as their Korean counterparts. We all remember EXO, and we all remember, you know, the members leaving and saying they had to put up with a lot of rough stuff. Victoria from FX, she's Chinese. She spoke about how difficult it was to be an idol in Korea. I kind of want to see how this whole Black Swan situation evolves over time.
So now we're back, and we're gonna go back to talking about Lee's girl group that he formed in the previous episode. And in this episode, he will discuss their pre-debut schedule leading up to their official debut as a group. So for those of you who didn't tune into the first episode, the group that Lee created is called Porcelain, and here's the schedule.
Welcome to this press conference at Dollhouse Entertainment. This is Lee, and we'll be discussing the schedule of my 7 beautiful girls of porcelain. So basically, pre-debut is going to be releasing a lot of teaser videos, a lot of V-Lives so people can get to know the girls. The first official video we'll release of the girls is them performing an a cappella version of Into the New World by Girls' Generation, post some dance practices of them doing some dance covers, and each girl has their own Instagram account that they can post whatever of their own volition, so that way we're already archiving the girls' personalities, what they're doing, and so the fans can see into the process of them preparing for their comeback. Is there any questions in this press conference?
Yes, this question is from SBS. And what dance covers are you releasing? Are there any songs in particular that is inspiring these dance practices?
Oh, well, thank you for asking, reporter. The first dance cover that they will be releasing is Rum Pum Pum by FX. Then we'll do another dance cover of iZone Fiesta, because it's always a fiesta. Dollhouse Entertainment. Ha ha ha.
Another question I have is how long have these girls been training under your company before they've even are gearing up for their debut?
So the girls were selected for our group in January of 2020. And so we took advantage of COVID. Instead of trying to rush a debut, we decided to take our time to really work on the girls' talent in terms of singing stably, knowing how to sing and dance at the same time. Breath support, media training, I think is really important. And also archiving the girls' look. So all in all, they've been training for almost a year now.
And what is the official date for their debut?
The girls are in the process of currently working on their first mini album of 4 songs. And once that is up and running, you guys will actually get a preview of the girls' song, because one of the songs actually is in the process of being written and produced for a TV drama coming this January. So you're going to get a preview of the girls' sound, their vocals, and all that. And then they will be debuting in February 1st, 2021.
So what is the official name of the title track to their debut song?
It's called Only One, and it is a very sort of innocent song about first love. And I think that because a lot of the girls are at a younger age, I feel that we should not force them to grow up or be sexualized too soon or ever. And so this song sort of captures the girls at where they're at now, with experiences of them being young and falling in love and being curious about what it's like to be in love with a boy. And this song, I think everyone will really appreciate the authenticities, because that this song is based on the girls' current experiences. The song is influenced by their Sambonims A-Pink. You know, I think when you look at the type of group that we really aspire to, A-Pink is a group that really has brought back the elegant chic concept. I think that there's more to K-pop than cute and innocent and girl crush, and this is just a great medium where you have another genre and another concept that young girls can relate to. Thank you everyone for coming to the press conference. Sadly, our time has come to an end. Please look out for updates on our social media at Dollhouse Entertainment across all platforms, on updates of the members, and thank you. There'll be no further questions.
So now we're going to move on to our K-pop Master Theater reading of Jessica Jung's book, Shine. We are now in chapter 2.
Korean preteen girls are mean. Like, damn. Are you sure you're not talking about another sister? Can we talk about the shade? They read her. I definitely think with this chapter, and especially that passage, I think what Jessica was trying to show is the juxtaposition of what the public thinks of idols and the actual, like, life of an idol. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of people think of idols because K-pop seems so glamorous and put together and polished that the trainees would definitely emulate that life. But no, if you're training to be in a K-pop group, I assume that that does include long hours in a studio, long hours practicing, wearing sweatpants and your hair matted and being sweaty because, hey, it's Saturday and guess what I did this Saturday? I just did a 10-hour dance class. It definitely showed, like, the public has an unfair standard when it comes to K-pop trainees and idols because the girls were like, oh, we were expecting her to be prettier. You finished dancing and being sweaty for 5 hours and see how you look. So, in this chapter, we're introduced to a few new characters: Jason Lee, the superstar, the twins, and Akira. So, her love interest is Jason Lee, a half white, half Korean Canadian. Exoticals. A lot of people say that he is Kim Jae-joon. And if you guys don't know who Kim Jae-joon is, for those that were not listening to K-pop in 2005, Kim Jae-joon is currently a part of the group JYJ, famous for songs like Backseat. Yeah, that song. And JYJ came from the original lineup of TVXQ, when TVXQ was a 5-some. I got you under my skin. And so, if this was in the mid-2000s, you can definitely say that, like, it was TVXQ. So, look at you, Jessica, getting into a romance with a really popular man. If it's true or not, you know, the world will never know.
So now we're going to actually read a couple of reviews that readers have left for the book. And while we were looking through the reviews, we sort of noticed that there's a mixed reaction from readers. A lot of people love it, and there's a lot of people that feel really, really strongly against this book. So we're just going to pick a couple of reviews and just kind of read them out loud. You know, Jessica Jung will never do this, but, you know, we love to bring entertainment to you guys. So this reader says, I found this novel to be strangely depressing, while also managing to maintain surface-level complexity with its setting, characters, and their lack of personalities and non-existent emotional depth. I'm extremely disappointed, as this was one of my most highly anticipated reads for 2020. This novel did not provide the fun escape that I wanted or needed for 2020. I don't know why Rachel's excruciating dull school life was included. I had trouble keeping track of her school friends because they all felt like essentially the same person to me. No one in this novel has a personality. I found the Korean slang and products to be clunky. The romance was dull. This was not an enjoyable read.
In the hateful words of another critic, celebrities should be banned from publishing books. Do we hate this book that bad? Here's another loving review. First of all, Crystal Jung, I love you so much. You're my entire world, and I know how much you love your older sister. All right, the shade starts. Let's talk about this book cover. Awful. This entire book, a massive, big, boring. This book is screaming fan fiction so loud, cringy. Some of the sentences are cheesy and lame. Tell us how you really feel. A lot of the unnecessary characters made me as a reader feel so confused. Why put a lot of characters with a useless effect? This is not an autobiographical book, so what's the point? Last thing, the worst part is this book has a sequel! Oh, these bitches are shady on goodread.com, aren't they? Now I know why it's called Good Read, because this was a good read, because they read you down.
So to wrap up this episode, we're gonna end with our segment K-pop horror stories.
Ooh.
And in this episode, I actually have a story to tell. It's a traumatic experience I had on Twitter, and it involved the Red Velvet fandom. So, as we all know, Selgi and Irene debuted with a subunit this year, and they released 2 singles. The first one was Monster, and the second single they released was Naughty. I got dragged by this fandom when I gave my simple opinion and critique of the song, because I had basically said that I didn't like how they were queer baiting. And when I tell you, people who I've never talked to on Twitter all of a sudden found my account and started like dragging me through the mud and filth. Some of the people who retweeted me were like, oh, you're a misogynist, you hate women. They're like, oh, you hate gay women. And then I remember this one person was like, I don't endorse homosexuality in real life, but this isn't queer baiting and they're allowed to do this. I was confused because basically I had live reacted to the music video once it released, and so someone who followed me on Twitter retweeted my reaction and gave their own personal opinion. And this was an account that has a lot of followers, and my Twitter account is on private, girl. Like, I barely have any followers, and I like it that way because I like to shade K-pop, and I like to...
You like to be messy with no consequences. Let's just say what it is.
You know, like, I like to be messy with no consequences. And, you know, like, it's my Twitter, so I can tweet about anything I want because it's my personal space. In K-pop, especially in K-pop stan Twitter, you can't have a personal opinion without being dragged by other people who have opposing thoughts. And the thing is, like, all of these fans acted like I had personally attacked Selgi and Irene, and they were their defenders. They were gonna clear the name. They were gonna, you know, be the ones to shut anyone down who had any criticism towards their release that they had. As someone who also, like, identify as queer, so when I was, like, replying to some of these people who were coming for me, like, I was, like, you know, as an actual queer person, because a lot of these people who were even in my replies weren't even gay. Like, they were just straight fans. As a K-pop fan, I'm tired of seeing all these idols show their support towards the LGBT community by just raising a flag in the concert and people taking that as them supporting like actual gay people in Korea. I feel like they can use their voice in a much more smarter way. Like, for example, when South Korea was experiencing a second wave of COVID cases, the main attack was against the gay community in Korea because the virus had resurfaced in specifically clubs in Itaewon. And so all of a sudden, a lot of people were attacking and saying that gay people are the reason why there's COVID in Korea. And it was just a lot of like just negativity around the community. And you could see the people who are like homophobes, right? During this time, was there any idol or was there any person who came out in defense of these people and said, hey, maybe you shouldn't be judging these people, or maybe you shouldn't be blaming them for something that they have nothing to do? Like, my thing, again, as a queer person, as someone who actually lives this in their experience and who watches K-pop and who loves K-pop and who, you know, is a huge fan of K-pop, to me, as I watch how the industry continues to queerbait us, and the majority of K-pop stans actually are LGBT, and that's why a lot of people, you know, even listen to our channel because they like to hear us talk about LGBT issues and related to K-pop. So with the increasing market of fans...
Take a breath. Take a breath. Don't cry, bitch.
So within the increasing market of LGBT fans who support K-pop, you see these companies take notice and be like, okay, we're gonna have more fan service and we're gonna market directly towards these consumers because this is the stuff they want to see. But in the same breath, they don't actually support the community and they don't support the people who they're profiting off of. So my frustration that came when I was venting on Twitter prior to people coming to attack me was as an LGBT person, like, you can't just take this false sense of allyship and be okay with it. So all of these people came towards me, they were dragging me, and so I was like, okay, a good example of a K-pop idol who's a great ally for the community is the late Jonghyun. All my respect to him. I was a huge SHINee fan, and you know, when his death came, like, I was so shocked, you know, like, I'm a huge Shawl too, and that's another thing that, like, people who attacked me, like, they didn't even know I was a Shawl. So as a Shawl, someone who respects Jonghyun, someone who respects just humans in general, like, I wasn't gonna talk badly about him or someone who's no longer with us, but like, I used him as an example to be like, hey, remember the time when he used Twitter to actually promote the story of a trans person in Korea who was being bullied in school, and so Jonghyun DM'd that person, shared their story on Twitter, changed their Twitter layout to be the letter that that trans person wrote. And when he did that, it sparked a lot of articles recovering the story because, of course, Jonghyun was in SHINee, and SHINee was at the time like one of the biggest groups. So again, great example of someone using their platform and being an ally at the same time. All of a sudden, so I was no longer being attacked by the Red Velvet stands. I was attacked by Shawl, my own people. They came for me and they were like, you should never talk about Jonghyun. You don't even know what you're talking about. Like, how disrespectful of you. They were like, if you're not a Shawl, you shouldn't talk about any of the members. And I was like, hold on, like, did I say anything disrespectful? Like, all I said was I used this person as an example. Whether this person is alive or not has nothing to do with me being disrespectful. Like, I brought them as an example of what a true ally is. And then when that happened, like, the first person I told was Lee, because I was like, oh my god, I need you to tell me whether or not, like, what I did was offensive or not.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. Queer baiting has always been a part of K-pop landscape, and unfortunately, where queer baiting becomes a problem is you're now using queer people as a financial boost to your sales and to build up the relevancy of your artists, but then you turn around and don't treat us or accept us a part of society. That's a problem. When I look at Super Junior's C1, queer baits the hell. You know, I can look at clips of Super Junior in concert of him covered in water hugging another member who's also shirtless. That's a little queer, but he'll turn around and say, oh, I'm a Christian and I don't support gay marriage. But you are marketing yourself towards gay people. Same with a lot of other groups and making, you know, male members of boy groups do fan service and skinship so that it appeals to young girls and queer audiences. Queer baiting has always been a problem. And where then queer baiting becomes an issue is, A, you're using us, like I said, as a economic boost to your product. You're then turning around and taking queer culture and using it and repatenting it as originality. Yes, we can argue that tutting and voguing is different, but I think tutting came from Vogue in some aspect because hand motion and hand isolation is a part of the Vogue dance. And I just feel like the problem is, like I said, is like you take from queer culture, you market to us, but then you'll have your idols turn around and be like, well, I don't fuck with that gay shit. So then what's the point of taking from us if you don't see us as people? Or if you don't see us as something that we deserve basic human rights. And that's the problem with K-pop. I think K-pop has a long history of appropriating different cultures and different people, passing it off as something original, and then turn around when we need allies in our struggles, they're like, oh, we don't see you. You're not a thing. And the issue I find with K-pop fans is that they'll have a certain blind loyalty to these idols. Like, they know these idols. Like, you know Selgi, you know Irene, you know BTS. Like, these people were there in your lowest of moments personally. I know that we know them through their music, but their music most of the time is not even written by them. Again, like, who am I to sit here and get upset over someone else's personal opinion on an artist? Like, I'm sorry, but like, these idols don't know us. These idols have never met us. And for those to be like, oh, I've been to tons of concerts, you are one face in a dark auditorium. So if they glance at you, it's different. You know, if one of these idols follow you on Instagram and you've spoken with them, which is unlikely all of you, and you've developed a personal relationship with them through those means, okay, you can defend them because you know them personally. However, Army, Blinks, the Red Velvets, which, you know what, Red Velvet won't be around for much longer, so I'm not going to talk to this fan base. But I think for those fan bases that feel the need to be so outspoken, like, no offense, you people that defend BTS, and you used to defend EXO the same way. You used to defend 21 the same way. So these fandoms who are generally children bouncing from artist to artist, you need to just sit down in a corner and let people just state their opinions. Since we're in the mix of recording, we just got a breaking news article about the cancellation of Red Velvet's visual and leader, Irene. And if you're a Red Velvet stan, I'm so sorry. You either need to leave the room or pray for a second, because what we say may hurt your feelings. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's read the timeline of the breakdown of the scandal. October 20th, famous photo shoot editor made a long Instagram post describing an incident where an unknown famous female celebrity verbally insulted her for 20 long minutes, bringing her to tears, and the speculation amongst netizens began when they were trying to figure out the identity of this said celebrity. October 22nd, so 2 days later, the alleged idol was to be Irene or Selgi, but some dismissed, seeing that the editor previously praised their work and Irene's beauty. Then, a former Red Velvet fashion collaborator liked the editor's post about the celebrity's tantrum. Then, a famous fashion photographer and other fashion insiders left message supporting her post. Then, Irene herself apologized on Instagram to the stylist about the tantrum, and SM themselves released a statement apologizing to the stylist. Then, the stylist deleted her original post following the apologies. Then more industry insiders began speaking up about the negative experiences with Irene, including a backup dancer and video director, amongst others. Then Irene and SM representatives met and apologized to the editor in person about the verbal attack. Then Red Velvet scheduled attendance to the K-Culture Festival 2020 fan meet was canceled. And to make matters worse, this scandal has been covered by Western news outlets including Billboard, E! News, and Jezebel.
To be honest, I'm even scared to give my opinion because I was already attacked by this fandom.
She's triggered!
But, you know, we're going to talk about it because I'm not afraid.
Does the prosecution want to begin?
So when this went down, I was actually surprised by the mixed reactions, how people were responding to it on Twitter. For example, a lot of the Red Velvet fans were actually in support of Irene and trying to debunk the original story, blaming it all on the stylist. I remember some people spreading rumors saying that the stylist was a dude, and if it's a man, then Irene should, you know, be mean to him and like basically degrade him and treat him like trash. And then I also remember all other fans coming to her defense and saying, you know, this stylist is the reason why she got electrocuted. But then this stylist in particular was someone who was working on a photo shoot. It was not someone who was working for a concert, a performance, or anything like that. She was a fashion editor, right?
Mm-hmm. Are you saying that their excuses have been declined?
Yes, because let's put this situation in a real world. I don't know if any of you guys have jobs or if you're in that age where you're working, but have you ever been treated badly by your boss? Have you ever had those days where your boss has just been an asshole? Even though he's your boss, is the way that he treats you excused? In my opinion, there is no excuse for you to lash out onto someone who's working for you. It doesn't matter what level they're in, whether it's the janitor, the waiter, the person who ties your shoelaces, or the person who's in charge of making sure you look beautiful before you go out for a performance. You need to be able to have respect. That's the bottom line. It's about respect. And I feel like she's at a point where, yeah, there's things surrounding her that have led to her to lash out onto someone. We don't know what happened, and we honestly have no idea what are the things she said. But in terms of the situation, I don't like how everyone was excusing her behavior instead of saying, you know, Irene was in a wrong for doing this. And if she wasn't in the wrong, she wouldn't have apologized. And I will say this, I do give kudos to her for issuing an apology immediately the next day, right? Like, she could have waited and even ignored the story if she didn't feel any remorse. You know, if she didn't feel sympathetic or didn't she feel like she was in the wrong, she wouldn't have apologized immediately. So kudos to Irene for doing that. I feel like her fans need to follow in her footsteps and be like, yeah, my idol messed up and we have to accept this, that not everyone is perfect, because as Lee was saying previously, we do not know these idols. So we shouldn't put them on a pedestal and act like they're infallible. Everyone has flaws. No one is perfect, and neither are your favorite idols.
Well, I have like a few like things. I personally think I love that Irene issued an apology, and I think for me personally, I don't think that she should be canceled. Because at least she acknowledged her wrongdoing. There's idols, no shade, male idols who constantly make questionable choices and they don't get shunned or canceled. Like, no tea, no shade. Day 6, Jay, he said a lot of homophobic things in the past, and I don't see us rising to cancel him. G-Dragon years ago got into a scandal for smoking pot. No one canceled him for it. One male idol even caused vehicular manslaughter. And he just disappeared for a year and then reemerged from the shadows and people forgot everything that happened. Or that whole Itaewon scandal happened with Jungkook. You know, at that time, Korea was saying Itaewon was the reason for Corona, yada, yada, yada. Whoever goes to Itaewon is irresponsible. And y'all were quick to be like, oh, they were wearing masks. Or, you know, they were just hanging out. Like, that doesn't mean that they are spreading corona. So I just feel like that's one issue where I just feel like if you're going to cancel Irene, then we're going to go back and have to cancel a ton of male idols. My second point is also a question of, is Irene really that difficult to deal with? Or is it because of the culture she's from? She is Korean. She is a woman. Korea is one of those cultures that they have certain expectation for what women should act like. And is it the fact that Irene is really difficult to deal with? Or is she that type of person where if she comes on set, she's very much like, are things together? No, why aren't they together? Like Nicki Minaj discussed it a few years ago in her documentary. Like, if a man does something, he's a boss. If a woman does the same thing 20 minutes later, she's a bitch. I feel like she's chaperoned through the wazoo. Like, she has managers to follow her. So for me, has no manager or no one on her team has been like, yo, Irene, you're kind of being a little difficult right now. Bring it down. You know, like things like that.
I think the most shocking thing about the story is that she actually made this woman cry. Like, someone who's been in the industry for 15 years, let's not forget that she's worked with a lot of other famous people, and she's probably had to deal with people who've had negative and nasty attitudes. But this incident was so scarring that she had to tell her story. And I think that's something that people are underplaying when they talk about this or they're defending her. She made a grown-ass woman cry. It's really unfortunate to see the way that people are excusing her behavior and like making jokes about it, and even like saying that this woman is like sensitive because she cried. It's like, well, you try being screamed at for 20 minutes and being called whatever. I don't know what Irene did, but let's think about it. Like, it must have been a huge freak out.
Idols don't have the privilege of having a therapist on staff. Idols don't have the privilege of openly being able to seek mental help without the public thinking that they're crazy. And I think maybe Irene was triggered and snapped and had a breakdown. Like, understand something. Idols, literally, when idols are promoting and working, they're on 2 hours of sleep a day. They're up at the crack of dawn. They're shooting, they're doing all this stuff. Maybe for her, she was burnt out and she snapped. Like, I'm not saying that, like, what she did isn't horrible, but I think hearing this, I'm more like, wow, like, maybe there's something deeper involving her mental health that is at play here. For her to snap and do that, she's probably was going through a lot at the time. Because when idols are popular, they're working non-stop. It's not like idols are like American celebrities where they can take a break for 3 years from their career and come back and pick up and be fine. You know, like, they're not like an Adele, where Adele can vanish and come back and release. You know, that's the magic of Adele. But I think K-pop is a very different market where, because they're idols coming out every year in droves, when you're a popular idol, you have to work extremely long hours, and she doesn't have the luxury of being able to handle this situation in private. And then the fact that her misstep is now public, and she's getting not just judged by the insiders, she's now getting judged by the public. So now she has to handle a private situation in public.
So a lot of netizens are actually rallying behind kicking Irene out of the group. How do you feel about that? Do you think it's really necessary to kick her out of Red Velvet?
No, because I think, what has she done to warrant to be kicked out? Again, I can go through idols that have done questionable things, but they're still in their groups. So I just think that they should just let her live and let her work on herself and come back.
What sense does it make kicking someone out? Like, that's only pushing the narrative that you only want idols to act a certain way and to behave a certain way. Like, you're not even open to the idea of an idol making a mistake and owning up to it. And I feel like just by kicking her out, that's just making things worse. Like, imagine how Irene's gonna feel.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the K-Pop Bible. And I hope to see you for our next episode coming up. Cece, where can they find us?
So you can listen to our podcast on Spotify, and don't forget to follow our page so you don't miss when we upload the next episode. You can also listen to us on anchor.fm. Usually we upload the episode a week later on our YouTube channel. So if you aren't subscribed to us there, what are you waiting for?